A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Super Foam Flying on HJN. And so for today, let's get it going with the Icon series, at least a little more than usual, by bringing you the Spectre. And this blaster, I really ought to say, it's a really good blaster on its own, but for it to be turned into an Icon product really says something. It does seem that not too many people out there are very fond of that of what the Spectre is, considering how it does have its own exclusive attachments, including this barrel, which sort of has the reminiscence of a silencer. And then you have the stock, which of course is notable for folding inward like so. So of course, you could attach the stock like this, or you can have it extended outwards like that. So it's a pretty interesting blaster for what it is, and pretty much being the last ever product released for the N-Strike line entirely, this blaster sure is quite a nice little send-off to what was known as one of the greatest parts of Nerf's lifespan. But these days there are lineups everywhere: Mega, Ultra, Elite, Zombie Strike, Rebel, Super Soaker. All of these lineups are just amazingly well designed in their own way. And in their own right, I will say that they all happen to be really good at what they are. But of course, only a few have actually done very well in recent years. So, being that the Icon series was an intention of giving us a whole new perspective to the N-Strike line, it makes sense that this blaster does in fact have its own revival, not to mention its own exclusive color-coded darts, specifically colored to match the original N-Strike paint scheme. So, it's the classic black and yellow along with gray and orange that always fit together no matter what. Until of course the Elite line came over and made a huge facelift in Nerf's marketing and whatnot. Otherwise, in terms of how it functions, it's the same old 5-round cylinder blaster that you can basically get, that could basically load 5 darts at a time, and priming it is as simple as using the top mounted slide, and firing is as simple as that. By pulling the trigger after pulling the slide like so, it pretty much is nice and easy. So, there's not really a whole lot I could probably touch up on here, aside from mentioning a few things like the fact that you can in fact have the cylinder out almost all the way, as you can see, which is basically unlike that of what other Rev blasters have had, like the Maverick, where it only pulls out like this much. But the Spectre can allow you almost full access to the cylinder at all times, giving you the opportunity to quickly reload all 5 chambers. Not to mention, cylinder spin is also on par with the original. Slides also nice and smooth. And firing just has that nice satisfying pop that you get with a lot of blasters nowadays. Then of course, the stock, while being kind of flimsy in terms of how thin these parts are, it still does prove to be rather effective. But again, the flimsiness, depending on who you might be, if you hold the blaster a little too hard, then probably expect it to snap. So I would probably prefer to either just have it folded out like this, or just have it removed altogether. Nothing much to say about that. And let's not forget about the customization of this blaster in total. They say that there are 6 total ways to customize this blaster. Like this, 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 and there's also one more pretty much. Just the way that it is pretty impressive. With all 3 of its pieces added on together, it gives a pretty notable appearance amongst all different things that are considered. But in any case though, the Icon Spectre, which is more of an upgrade than the original, it still is a great blaster by all means. So, just for fun, let's fire off the remaining darts. And now that it's empty, I'm ready to lay down my summary on this whole thing. The Icon Spectre, it's a bit more of a step up as opposed to the original, and it still is a really darn good blaster even after all these years. And so, being that the Spectre itself was pretty notable on its own for being a rev blaster with a top-mounted slide for a priming mechanism, a silencer-esque barrel, and a folding stock. They all come together to form a really good blaster, at least from how I see it. Maybe some of you might see it differently, but that's only because we all have our differences and our likelihoods. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel to make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.